Back in the summer of 2008, something happened that I'll never forget. I've told this story many times, and people always say it's one of the wildest things they've ever heard. I hope you find it just as chilling. I grew up in Montana and spent most of my youth in nature. I loved hiking, especially in places that felt dangerous or completely cut off from civilization. Sure, hiking was good for my health, but what really got me going was the rush of walking near steep cliffs, being around wild animals, and knowing no one else was around for miles. In late 2007, a film called Into the Wild came out, and it totally spoke to me. I was a senior in high school, restless and dreaming of freedom. Inspired, I decided to hike a big stretch of the Northwest Ridge Trail, starting from the border with Mexico and heading up through California. I graduated and hit the trail. I faced heat, saw some snakes and bears, and got dehydrated a few times, but nothing ever felt truly dangerous. That changed in a remote area of Redwood Hills Forest in Northern California. One day, I came around a bend and saw two people sitting on a rock. They were dressed all in white, their clothes dusty, and the man had a wild-looking beard. They looked to be in their 40s and reminded me of those survivalist types you see in documentaries. It was strange to see anyone at all. On this trail, I often went entire days without spotting another soul. Their clothing could have been for sun protection, and their messy look wasn't too strange for long-distance hikers. I said hello, but they just stared. They didn't respond or even nod. I assumed maybe they were foreign and didn't understand me. Still, I kept going and set up camp a few hundred yards off the trail like I always did. That night, I cooked a simple meal and tied my leftover food up in a tree about 5 feet off the ground. But in the morning, the food was gone. At first, I thought a bear had taken it, but I didn't find any paw prints, just boot prints. 2 different sets, walking circles around my tent. One set led right to the tree where the food had been hanging. Immediately, I thought of that strange couple. My heart dropped. I packed up and got out of there quickly. All day I kept thinking about it, but I told myself they must have just been desperate for food. If they had bad intentions, they could have done something worse. After a few days, I calmed down and went back to enjoying the trail. I even started putting a ring of sticks around my tent at night, just in case someone or something walked nearby. I'd hear them. One night, the stick snapped. I woke up in total darkness, my heart pounding. I grabbed my hunting knife, trying to stay calm. Probably just an animal, I told myself. Then I heard whispering. Quiet, fast voices, but I couldn't tell where they were coming from. Out there in the deep woods, with no light and no one around for miles, your senses start to play tricks on you. I thought about yelling that I had a gun, but I decided to stay silent instead. Footsteps circled my tent. I gripped my knife, ready for anything, but after a few moments, nothing. It all stopped. No voices. No steps. I didn't sleep a second that night. When the sun came up, I unzipped my tent to find no one, but the same 2 sets of boot prints were there again. Several days later, I had made it to Pine Rock National Park, around 60 miles from where I first saw the couple. The trail here turned into a narrow mountain path with no trees around. I could see for miles ahead and behind me. I stopped to refill my water, and when I looked back down the trail, I saw 2 white dots, far off in the distance but moving in my direction. I freaked out. "Forget this," I said out loud. I pulled out my map and found the closest town, Clear Bend, off the main highway. But it was 25 miles away. Still, I had to get there. I hiked fast and kept going well into the night, but I kept losing the trail. Finally, I gave up and set up camp deep in the woods, far from the path. I got into my tent, exhausted, but I couldn't sleep. Every tiny sound put me on edge. After a couple hours, I heard them again, footsteps, whispering, snapping twigs. My stomach dropped. They were close. I just kept repeating in my head, "This is insane. What is happening?" Suddenly, a flashlight lit up my entire tent. Then darkness. I grabbed my knife, unzipped the tent, and charged out, yelling nonsense to scare whoever it was. I couldn't see anyone clearly, just flashes of movement. Then, footsteps coming toward me fast. I ran. I ran blind through the forest, tripping and crashing into trees. After a few minutes, I fell and rolled next to a fallen log. I crawled under it and laid completely still. Far off, I saw a flashlight bobbing through the trees. It kept moving around, then disappeared. I stayed hidden there for hours. When birds finally started singing, I knew it was almost morning. I crawled back to the trail, left all my gear behind, and walked nonstop until I reached the highway. From there, I hitched a ride to the nearby town and reported everything to the local rangers and police. They gave me a room for the night, and my parents drove from Montana to pick me up. Later, I checked in with the Forest Service. They said they'd had similar reports, people saying their gear or food was stolen, but nothing like what I went through. As far as I know, they never found those two. I still wonder what they really wanted out there, and what would have happened if I hadn't run. I live in a small mountain town out west. It's a quiet place, friendly, peaceful, and surrounded by woods. Because I work in healthcare, I interact with all kinds of people, including local police and emergency teams. Despite how calm the place looks from the outside, things can get strange here. Everyone knows everyone, and that makes the weird stuff stand out even more. I've got a lot of stories, but since this just happened, I need to share it first. Since the case is ongoing and the authorities are involved, I'll have to leave some parts vague. I'm single and live by myself. After dealing with a stalker in the past, I've had to move more than once. Though that's another story for a different day. It's relevant now because, ever since that experience, I've been cautious. I have a big dog, motion detectors, and several security cameras watching my property. My current house is located just up the hill from a public works facility, and a short walk from both the local fire hall and police office. From my living room window, I can see the fire hall clearly. Next to that is a lot where the town parks things like road maintenance trucks and empty garbage haulers. Oddly enough, that lot doesn't have any security cameras. One of those small town quirks, I guess. My house sits high enough that I can see the entire lot from the backyard, but thanks to the thick trees and a partly overgrown field next door, most people can't see my yard unless they're really trying. This happened on a Saturday evening during the town's annual summer celebration. Everyone was at the fairgrounds enjoying food, music, and fireworks. I stayed home. Crowds aren't really my thing, and besides, my dog gets nervous around loud noises. A little while before sunset, I let her out into the backyard. It was unusually quiet in the neighborhood. Most folks were still out enjoying the festivities. As I stood there, a large white pickup truck slowly drove past. Something about it made me watch. It reached the end of the road, then came back about 20 seconds later and turned into the public works lot. I kept watching. People sometimes dump junk in the parked garbage trucks to avoid going to the landfill. Usually stuff like broken furniture or old electronics. But this guy didn't have any of that. He was a stocky man, not too tall, and he pulled out 3 big black trash bags from his truck bed. One by one, he tossed them into the hopper of a garbage truck and drove off. I'm not the nosy neighbor type, but something about that situation gave me a bad feeling. People dump trash all the time, and normally I let it go. But this didn't feel right. My instincts told me something was off. So I called the police. While waiting for an officer to arrive, I took the dog inside to keep things calm. A few minutes later, an officer pulled up and I met him out front. I explained what I saw and showed him exactly which truck the man had used. He walked over, took a few photos, then put on gloves and started checking the bags. They were knotted tight, and it took him a moment to undo the first one. When he finally opened it and peeked inside, he froze. Then he backed away and muttered, "Oh no. What is it?" I asked. He looked pale. His hand was shaking as he grabbed his radio. "It's a body," he said. The air left my lungs. He looked sick, and I felt the same. His voice trembled as he reported the discovery. The dispatcher on the other end asked him to repeat it, clearly shocked. Within 10 minutes, the county sheriff and more officers arrived. The coroner pulled up shortly after that, Everyone looked shaken. They walked me back to my house and asked to see my camera footage again, this time on a larger screen. The video clearly showed the white truck driving past, turning around, and pulling into the lot. Unfortunately, the license plate wasn't readable, and the actual dumping of the bags happened just out of frame. We paused and replayed the footage several times. They asked for a copy, along with all footage from the past week, in case the truck had come through earlier. Until the town installs a camera at the Public Works lot, I've been saving all the recordings. Since the case is fresh, I don't know many details. I only know the remains were dismembered, but I don't know the age, identity, or cause of death. None of that's been released yet. I'm not even sure if the body's been identified. Now, a patrol car stays parked by the fire hall for constant watch, probably in case the guy returns. He might be from around here. How else would he know that lot didn't have cameras? He probably figured the garbage would pile up over the holiday weekend and no one would notice. Maybe this wasn't even the first time he dumped something there. Thinking about that makes me feel sick. He might live nearby. He might have done this before. He could do it again. If I hadn't been in the yard at that moment, if I'd ignored my gut, that body might have never been discovered. Someone's family might never have known what happened to their loved one. Justice might have never come. And honestly, I wonder, what if next time it's someone else? Or worse, what if it's me? Please let it never be me. I've decided to move. Again. Hopefully this will be the last time. My partner and I recently moved to a small mountain town in the Pacific Northwest. I've always wanted to live surrounded by nature, and so far, I really enjoy the peacefulness here. The quiet streets, the tall trees all around, and the wide open space behind our cabin. People are nice, the stars shine bright at night, and I like seeing wildlife nearby. I'm not too worried about the occasional raccoon or deer wandering through the yard. But lately I've been feeling like something else is out there too. Whether it's just my imagination or not, I'm not sure if I should be concerned or what I could do about it. Let me explain. My partner got a good job offer at a regional hospital nearby. He covers the night shifts for a specialty that serves several small towns across 2 states. Smaller hospitals often offer attractive pay to attract workers from the cities. Since we were already planning to move here, we took the chance to try it out for a couple of years, while I look for work remotely in my field. I mostly work nights too, so I can spend time with my partner during the day. We wake up around 2 or 3 p.m. He leaves for work early enough, so I can run errands in the afternoon, and he returns around 5 a.m. Then we sleep until about 7 a.m. It's a tough schedule, but he gets every other week off, which is a big help. This matters later. So, after 5 p.m., I'm usually home alone in the small cabin we rent from an older couple who lived down the road. We used to have a medical student renting the other side, but she was very quiet and recently moved out. Contractors have been fixing her side during the day most of the week. I work at the kitchen table through the night and take breaks to walk our elderly dog, check the mail, or water the plants in the backyard. The backyard is surrounded by windows and glass doors from nearly every room, so I can see the entire yard clearly. I'll just tell you what's happened in order. About a month ago, after my partner left for work, I went back to sleep. An hour later, I woke up to our dog barking nonstop in a serious way, like he sensed danger. I thought maybe it was a delivery person or someone new, because we just moved in. But when I looked out, there was a man I didn't recognize near the front door, peeking into windows along the side of the house. He reminded me a little of an actor, Willem Dafoe, with an odd expression. When I called out that I'd be right there, he quickly stepped back and left, but gave me a look that felt full of hate and disgust, something I'd never seen before. It was strange because during the day, you can't see inside from outside with the blinds closed. So how did he know I was there? That moment still haunts me. About 3 weeks ago, my partner worked extra shifts during his week off, so I was alone more. At night, I started hearing footsteps around the house, especially on the gravel path. Sometimes when I checked, no one was there. I even heard footsteps on the roof late at night when no contractors were supposed to be working. I began feeling watched all the time after dark, so I kept the outside lights on all night, especially in the backyard. I stopped showering alone because there's a skylight over the shower, and I sometimes heard footsteps above. I bought and installed security cameras focused on the yard. 2 weeks ago, things got worse. One afternoon, I saw one of the elderly neighbors peering into my bedroom window. He said he was just checking the sprinkler system control, which was on our property. To block the view into the bedroom, I put up frosted window film. That stopped the feeling of being watched there, but then I felt eyes on me from the living room and kitchen windows instead. One night, I had a panic attack and couldn't sleep. I thought maybe I was just being paranoid because of some creepy stories I read, but my anxiety stayed high. Sometimes things in the yard were moved around or strange trash showed up, though I thought wind might have caused it. The cars and garbage cans got messed with too. I heard tapping on windows but ignored it. Last week, after a short trip, I came home feeling positive. But as soon as it got dark, the uncomfortable feeling returned. I stayed in my bedroom with the dog, refusing to go near the windows. The dog kept staring at the kitchen window, ears alert, and our cat was also fixated on the same window, trying to see something outside. That's when I realized I feel watched from about 10 p.m. until dawn every night, mostly near the kitchen window, but really all over the house. There's nowhere to hide from the windows except the bathroom or garage. I carry my phone and a knife everywhere inside. I check the yard constantly because every room leads to it. One night, while walking the dog, I heard footsteps coming from the side yard. I called out and shined a flashlight, but they stopped and disappeared. The same thing happened again later. Once, I saw someone coming across the field with a flashlight, but when they got close, they turned it off and didn't answer me. It feels like I'm trapped in a slow horror movie. Days when my partner is home are fine, so I don't know what to think. I don't have many friends nearby, and plan to buy more security cameras and motion lights when I can afford them. But I worry if whoever it is sees the cameras, they might get worse. My partner suggests I get a concealed weapon and maybe another dog. This area isn't known for danger, but the homes are spread far apart, and this feels really creepy. I'm a woman in my mid-30s who isn't easily scared. I worked in emergency services and feel able to protect myself. The landlord told us not to change the locks because the previous cleaner had a key, so we only use the deadbolt, which only I and she have keys for. Last night, I was sitting quietly when I heard someone coughing near the kitchen window around 2 a.m. It sounded like an old man coughing, but there was supposed to be no one else in the house. That gave me chills. A woman drove by today, slowed down, and took pictures of the house and me in the yard. I think they might be trying to sell the other unit. My mail didn't arrive, just flyers, which is unusual. Also, at dusk, I heard something digging behind the backyard wall. It sounded big, maybe a person or a dog, but when I called out, no answer. I've contacted the police and plan to send them more details tonight.